Welcome to everyone for today's study, Spiritism, Inspiring Lives. And in order for us to start this meeting, inviting all of you who are with us through the different channels where we are working together, in these initial moments that we may harmonize our minds. We're starting to look within, calming our minds, our hearts, so that we can choose, at least for some moments, to defocus on the external reality and focus on the internal reality. We're starting to think about ourselves as immortal beings, essentially beings of goodness and love, who are evolving throughout time. And as we start this meeting, we start by expressing our gratitude for the Creator of everything and everyone, God, the Father of love, who loves us all, who created us for us to learn to love ourselves, to love others, to love life. And in that way, we give thanks for everything that we already have, our lives, our existences, our experiences that helps us to promote and evolve, our families, our friends, all the blessings that the universe already gave to us. And with these sentiments of gratitude, we start this meeting today. So once more, be very welcome for today's study, Spiritism, Inspiring Lives, where today we will be reflecting about unhealthy habits. We are all the extension of ourselves throughout time, as Jung already said. So our tendencies, our habits, our needs, our likes, they are reflected in the present. So we are addressing the theme unhealthy habits from a theory of reincarnation, which helps us to understand better how we are and what we can also choose in the present using our free will to develop healthy habits. Once we become aware of the unhealthy ones, we can choose now to promote ourselves. We are aware that unhealthy habits that we are reflecting here, they are just some of the examples. Of course, there are many more. And also to understand that we are reflecting on unhealthy habits based on the reflections of the Spirit André Luiz in the book Green Light. That is a very simple book, which I would suggest for all of us if we can get it through Amazon or different sources. Is a very enlightened book, different messages that helps us to favor and promote our self-analysis from a more deeper perspective. So we start here then, unhealthy habits. And the Spirit André Luiz goes straight away on our sexuality, because he refers by saying an unhealthy habit is to use pornography or swear words, even if they are fashionable. So we are here considering promoting our individuation, as Jung said, although it may be fashionable for the massification or for the majority of people, that does not mean that is healthy, based in developing our inner health, based in developing our inner balance and centeredness and inner peace. So in case we use pornography in this stage in our evolution, we can always choose to re-educate ourselves in developing healthy habits so that we can promote our sexual energy towards goodness, towards real love that helps us even to heal ourselves, and also to swear words. As more as we become more gentle, as more as we develop our emotional intelligence, we also will develop a healthy habit in learning to express ourselves in a more balanced, centered, gentle way. We all can learn through these examples that are given to us. The next unhealthy habit that the Spirit Andrea Luiz is presenting is to frequently push or poke those who are talking to, that we are talking to. So again, self-analysis, self-awareness helps us to, in a loving way, never in a harsh way, but in a loving way, to observe our own tendencies and freely be willing to choose to restructure, rebuild new habits, consciously participating. We can learn to control ourselves before we speak. We can learn to be in control of what we think and feel, and also be attentive in what our goal is in the moment, so that we may be in a way more pleasant how we are present with ourselves in relation to others. And then Andrea Luiz goes on by saying to make unpleasant comments about other people's situation. That is important also, because still we may also all have this shadow, this tendency, this habit that runs on the automatic system on our unconscious mind, that we may have this habit to comment about the shortcomings of others, about the shadows of others. And actually, as we learn to look more within in a loving way, we will realize if we have this habit to make unpleasant comments about others, that actually is touching on inferiority or on shadows that we may not be aware yet. And once we become aware, now we freely choose, through the proposal of self-love, to develop a habit to shut down my unhealthy habit and educate myself in a healthy one. So instead of make comments in a negative way about others, unpleasant ones, I will be vigilant, I will be lucid and attentive, that I will not allow that to be expressed. Meanwhile, I will choose to think in a more constructive way in relation to self and others, and therefore when it's down to speak, I will make a positive comment. Or if I don't have that possibility, I may even silence, knowing what I'm doing, because I'm no longer willing to be an instrument of spreading the shadows around, but enlightening them, as Jung said to us. Now, another example that the Spirit Andrea Luiz is presenting us as an unhealthy habit is to spread rumors and hold negative conversations. Quite often we have this unhealthy habit through our long journey, through selfishness and pride, that we think that we are better when we spread around slander, gossip, or negative rumors about other people. But in reality, we only do that, or we only cultivate that unhealthy habit because we are ill psychologically, emotionally, and we may not be aware. So once we become aware, and the purpose here, it is to help us to reflect on ourselves in a loving way so that we can do something about our unhealthy habits. It is, again, to choose freely to think in a positive way about others, to be attentive before we say something, understanding that each rumor that we spread about negatively about people or situations, we are actually carrying on intoxicating ourselves. And in reality, we are here in this blessed opportunity for us to work towards our own healing. So let's feel encouraged and stimulate ourselves in creating the new habits. And still, Andrea Luiz goes on to shout when he's speaking. There is also an aspect that we can observe, because sometimes we are shouting, we have these unhealthy habits, and we are unconscious of them. Now, as we study and self-study, analyze ourselves, we may become aware of these patterns, of these conditionings, and freely choose now to express ourselves in a healthier way, as we learn to control our emotions, as we learn to control our immature or ill intentions, merely because we are focusing in developing healthy habits, and therefore condition ourselves in repeating them, using our free will using the willpower to sustain these new values that we freely choose to bring in and incorporate in our habits. And another unhealthy habit is to laugh uncontrollably, which of course that does not show any kind of inner control. We are aiming to reach inner balance, inner health, to promote our health from a psychological, emotional, even biological level, a spiritual level, so that we learn to be happy, but to be centered, to be controlled, that we develop this healthy habit instead of the unhealthy one. And another aspect to reflect on unhealthy habit is to use unkind frankness under the pretext of being truthful. That usually shows our aggressiveness, sometimes our cruelty, sometimes our pride that manifests in these moments, sometimes the evidence that we are not in control of ourselves, sometimes through pride we may think that we are better than others. In reality, this unkind frankness is the lack of self-control, the lack of self-love, which we can choose now as we become aware, freely to choose to self-control ourselves, and instead of expressing it uncontrollably, we choose to select which kind of thoughts and words we choose in any situation with any person. And in case we still fall back to the old systems, which are already automatic in our unconscious memories, we simply take responsibility and address it at the moment and re-edit that experience within and with those who are around us. And another aspect that we still can also analyze within ourselves is an unhealthy habit to dig up the past of others, so harming or hurting them. Again, quite often we are so hurt within ourselves, we are so full of unhealthy habits based on the egoistic state of mind that we may feel sometimes pleasure in doing that, but unconsciously, or sometimes consciously. But let's choose now to take advantage of the time, of the moment in the present, that if these habits emerge, let's choose now to educate ourselves in develop healthy belief systems, in wishing well other people and not focusing on past mistakes or shortcomings of others, but address our own shortcomings from the past in a loving way, that we put efforts into to overcome them. That would be the right way in developing a new habit in relation to this unhealthy habit. And then still Andrea Luiz carries on teaching us unhealthy habit to disseminate pessimism. How about us as we think about, would we be able to see if we are disseminating pessimism through our negativity, through our aspects and habits of complaining, always about situations, people's having a very dark way of looking out, and he says, and discredit people and communities. Where are we individually as the reflections focus on each one of us, and each one of us needs to learn to self-analyze our habits, our tendencies. And again, in case we observe that we may have these unhealthy habits to disseminate pessimism and discredit people and communities, that really reflects how unhealthy we are within. And the purpose is in this reflection to really take advantage, as I mentioned previously, to develop new healthy habits, choosing to disseminate optimism, be more positive. Positive is not based on fantasy, but be more realistic in relation to how life is. Each time when my unhealthy habit of pessimism emerges, I may work on it, not to expand it, not to express it, and to exactly do the opposite, knowing that I'm developing myself in a healthier way. Or if I have the tendency to discredit people in communities, again, there is always the pride which is in evidence, because I'm supposing that I'm better than others. the prideful way that blinds us to see our own limitations and observe our own unhealthy habits. So if they emerge, there is no need to criticize ourselves. It's the only need to learn to have ownership and choose right now to develop the healthy ones, which is to create and develop and sustain a more positive, constructive inner reference in relation to self and others, understanding that we are all evolving, understanding that if I cannot influence in a positive way for different reasons, that I may not discrediting people and communities, because I'm inserted in the social laws in order to collaborate, to contribute in a constructive way and not in a destructive way. As more as we develop this healthy habit, healthier we are within, more peace we feel within, more centeredness we feel within. And also an unhealthy habit is to avoid cleanliness. So do we like to have our homes clean, to be organized? When we say clean, we don't mean perfect, because perfectionism is not, it doesn't represent inner health. But clean means order, organization, that helps me to go organize my life in a more simple way. That again, simplicity also helps us in that way. This healthy habit, simple, clean, organized. And another way that Andrea Louise is helping us is an unhealthy habit to complain about everyone and everything as a matter of habit. Unhealthy habits. We are beings in evolution for centuries and centuries, and we bring in our unconscious mind, unconscious memory, our tendencies. So perhaps we are already in this circle of complaining about everyone, which is the negativity within, which is a tendency, is a habit, and habits have been developed, and habits can be deconditioned as we choose now to develop healthy habit, not to complain anymore. And if I don't have any positive remark to make, then I may choose to simply silence instead of just going around as in an automatic way and repeating words and phrases and references that may not be healthy, neither for me, neither for the others, neither for the environment. We are on the planet Earth, which is our beautiful school of evolution, in order to cooperate in developing healthy habits for us and also for others in the communities where we live, starting within our families as well. And another unhealthy habit is to ignore the rights and conveniences of others. That usually also is our old rooted inheritance from pride, that we think that we know better and we ignore that other people have the rights to be in the best that they can. So when we bring the focus back to us in developing self-love, and self-love means learning to do what is good for me, what is good for others today, tomorrow, and on the ongoing journey, then I may focus more in developing to fulfill my own duty, which is to take responsibility for my healthy habits, which I'm building, which I'm expanding, which I'm choosing freely to incorporate in my new way of being. As I understand that I will inherit myself, as I choose to think today and act today, I will deal with the consequences tomorrow. Tomorrow could be the next moment, the next day, the next week, the next year, or the next existences in our journey of evolution. And also to point out intentionally the imperfections and defects of others. We sometimes do that through our unconsciousness, or sometimes consciously because of our pride, selfishness, vanity. But in reality, that is referring to our inferior complex. So our inner self is in such a low self-evaluation because we forgot intentionally or not to invest in developing healthy habits. Therefore, we may have this unhealthy habit to constantly, when we meet people, when we see someone, always intentionally to point out the imperfections and defects. And also when we reflect about this unhealthy habit, quite often also it may not be exactly the imperfection as I see them, but it is my own projection, my own shadow, which is reflected on the other. So it's almost like I'm using lenses that are not clean, that I see through my own inner self. To allow yourself to become irritated over things that are unimportant. Here, the Spirit André Luiz is referring to this unhealthy habit that we still have, because all of us are still managing to develop our emotional intelligence. We still bring this immediacy of the controlling issues that we bring within, and quite often we become very irritated with very simple things, our own shortcomings. Once they become aware, we become aware of them, we choose now to learn to be in control of what we think, to be in control of what we think, to be in control of what we feel, to be in control how we choose now to relate ourselves and with others. Even if other people do not understand our new way of being, we are on earth coming out of the massification process. Therefore, we cannot expect that other people may understand us when we choose simply to silence, for instance, knowing that we are in that way developing a healthy habit that helps us to develop centeredness, that helps us to develop inner peace, that helps us to heal ourselves from these shortcomings which are based on our unhealthy habits. And André Luiz carries on by saying an unhealthy habit is to ask about situations and relationships, the significance of which we cannot realize. So it's almost like this curiosity from the ego's level onwards. Actually, it's not coming from healthy intentions, neither from healthy motivations. They are coming from unhealthy intentions, unhealthy motivations. Therefore, it is an unhealthy habit. And therefore, now, in case we are dealing with these habits, we can change it now. In sincerely learn to be okay without knowing certain aspects, especially when it's a personal level, unless the person is inviting us to look into that and engage with that. That is different. It's different than a state of mind, a state of consciousness that we are instigating other people's internal lives in a negative way. And another unhealthy habit is to disrespect people by asking unnecessary questions. That requires a lot for us to learn to be quiet within, because as more our inner world is turbulent, more we have this agitation and always talking, and we are not even aware what we are talking, but we need to occupy the space. And if the other does engage, we feel we are not heard, we are not listened to. So disrespect people in asking unnecessary questions, that we can reflect quite a lot how we can be more constructive within ourselves, learning to be conscious of our internal instability and develop internal stability by changing our thoughts, our belief systems. That is okay for us not to ask every single doubt or question that may emerge in our heads, in our minds, in our hearts, but always develop this respectful habit. In English, we have a say, less is more. That is quite useful when we are considering in developing healthy habits. And the other aspect, unhealthy habit, is to tell jokes that may hurt the sentiments of those listening. We do it sometimes as a way that we are running away from our own wounds. Again, first, I haven't developed the inner silence. I still cannot be at peace with myself, but we always can choose to invest time in any moment to that. And then I use humor or jokes sometimes to not to connect with that in an unhealthy habit or in an illness that I bring within myself. It's important to make contact with that part and also nourish it through self-love, through self-respect, and that we bring ourselves more towards the center of ourselves in this new habit of be conscious. Because sometimes we may say jokes from our wounded aspect unconsciously, and we can hurt others because we are not aware how that can impact the other person, especially emotionally, because we don't know them. We don't know which kind of wounds, which kind of references they bring within. So it's good always to think in this broader perspective. Now, another unhealthy habit that the Spirit Andrea Louise is bringing us for our reflections is to mock or criticize maliciously behind people's back. Here we are invited, it's not written here, but within lines, we are invited to reflect and address our own inferior complex, our own lack of self-worth. We waste our time criticizing maliciously, intentiously. Our intentions are toxic, negative. And in that way, without being aware, because we are blind through our pride and selfishness, we are carrying on intensifying and developing unhealthy habits, which will not promote high self-esteem. On the contrary, will expand the low self-esteem. And as worse as I feel within, although I pretend on the external facade, one version which I'm not, I cannot run away from my inner self. So again, self-awareness will help us to be conscious, not to talk on the back of others intentionally in a negative way, because that means there is a projection of our own shadows, of our own inferiority. Once we are conscious, we choose to develop healthy habits in talking in a constructive way. And in case we are with a group of people who are talking, slandering about other people, we choose to silence. We choose to, if it's possible, we choose to bring in a different subject that we disguise this aspect. But it's always referring to our inner choices of either reinforcing our unhealthy habits or in the moment choosing to develop the healthy ones. Surely, in order to be wise in developing our own healing process, we will choose to develop and hold the unhealthy habits. And another aspect is to discuss in details the sexual problems of others, no matter who. Sexuality belongs to every individual. It's not our business. Either homosexual or heterosexual, either man or a woman. As immortal beings, spirits as we are, I repeat again, sexuality belongs to each individual. If we discuss in details the sexual problem of others, we are still quite distant in terms of the proposal of self-love, because the sexual energy are the most potent energies that every human being brings within, because in essence they are based on love that comes from God. And understanding that we are all unique in the universe, every human being, every spirit is dealing with their sexuality in a unique way. So, in case we detect the unhealthy habit that we bring within to discuss and criticize, again, our own shadows projected on the others, let's invest in developing our inner wisdom, in developing healthy habits, thinking for ourselves. The way that we relate with us is the way that we think. I choose now to respect myself, my sexuality, and I choose to respect others as they are, as they express their sexuality, understanding that we are all on the journey of evolution, and sooner or later, all of us will be more in harmony with our own sexuality. But we are not here on earth to change others. We are here to change ourselves, developing healthy habits and respecting the sexuality of every human being. because we are all created with love. So we learn to develop this healthy habit. And André Luiz goes on, is still showing that an unhealthy habit is to show off your knowledge at unsuitable moments, only for the pleasure of exhibiting your culture or competence. This is the evidence of our pride, isn't it? We think that we are so important because we learn to think and we may have a good memory, which is important, yes, in our evolution pathway to conquer that. But if we only develop the intellectual intelligence and we are blocked on the emotional intelligence, then we are still temporarily reinforcing this unhealthy habit based on pride, based sometimes on arrogance, which really is not good for us in a short, middle, or long term. We want to also, yes, study, yes, to develop our intellectual intelligence, because this is our duty in the pathway of evolution, but not the need to show off. That comes from an unhealthy aspect within ourselves, which requires attention in order to change. And another unhealthy habit is to use unkind frankness under the pretext of being truthful. We can look within ourselves, is that to do with myself, or may I have this habit, this tendency? If so, there is no need to criticize. It's only the need to analyze and to choose now to develop the healthy one, which is gradually train ourselves through practice to be kinder with ourselves and others as a free choice, because we are willing to develop self-love, kindness, to promote our own psychological and emotional spiritual healing, which manifests in our biology. And another aspect is that André Luiz presents is to show disrespect for appointments and understandings. My dear friends, can we imagine that that is an unhealthy pattern, an unhealthy habit? When it's still on earth, we see so many people, even ourselves sometimes, with these limitations. But here we go. We are considering a look deeper within ourselves as immortal beings as we are. If I have this unhealthy habit, let's choose now to develop the healthy one, which is learn to be on time with any commitment, social, professional, personal, with friends, with families, because we are in the universe here on earth constantly invited to be practicing, developing healthy habits. So when I have a commitment, I choose to commit with myself, to be on time, because I'm developing punctuality, psychologically speaking. And I cannot develop punctuality without developing respect towards self and others. So in that way, if I have noticed the unhealthy habits, I choose to develop the healthy one now, learning to be on time so that I can develop the self-respect and respect for others as well. And another unhealthy habit is to live without method. Procrastination. I know that I have a lot of things to do, but I don't go into action. I don't do that. I don't have a method. I don't carry on. I start, I stop. I start, I stop. I start to do changing my eating habits, for example. One day I do it, next day no. Method helps us to develop discipline, or developing discipline, we develop healthy methods in our lives to achieve healthy habits, healthy ways of living in all senses, family-wise, professional-wise, with our own health, with our own evolution, in the communities where we are constantly, because we are social beings. And another unhealthy habit is to be constantly agitated, thus hindering those about you and making it difficult to carry out your own responsibilities. In case we notice this tendency, this habit, let's choose to use the breathing exercise, which can help us to center and also to develop self-control. Let's also use prayer sometimes that can help us once I detect my own shadows, my own imperfections, or my own unhealthy habits. Now I use my psychic energy and use the resources that are available to me for me to develop this inner potential. And prayer helps us because we are not alone. We have dear friends, spiritually speaking, or spiritual benefactors who are with us that are always willing to motivate us, to encourage us to develop the healthy habits. And another aspect, which is an unhealthy habit, is to talk big about yourself under the excuse of being better. The one who is better ethically and morally, therefore, who is more mature psychologically and emotionally, already put the effort into to develop healthy habits and will not have the need to talk big or expand your own goods that you do in order to be accepted, in order to be applauded by others. The mature beings, they don't have the need for that. The immature ones, yes. So it's almost like when I don't have much inner valuable resources, I may have this temporary tendency to talk about big of my achievements, when perhaps I stop to think and reflect and look around, other people do much more than I do. And that's okay. To spend more money than you have. Can we consider that perhaps we have this tendency? On earth, surely we still find these habits. And then we may ask ourselves, why? Why do we spend more money than we have? Because we still are focused on a materialistic perspective, which is based on selfishness, which is based on pride, which is based on having things, which is based on comparison. I need to compare myself with others. I want to show off. I'm dealing with my lack of my low self-esteem. I'm dealing with my lack of self-worth. So I'm trying to buy things to feel good, to fill my gaps that I carry within, but it doesn't work. So sometimes an unhealthy habit of spending more money than I have brings huge negative, stressful consequences in our existences, because sooner or later we need to pay that. We may become anxious, we may become very stressful, we may become irritable because we know we may try to hide ourselves, we lie, and so on and so forth. Different other unhealthy habits in order to hinder this, hide these tendencies. When simply what needs to happen is learn not to spend more than what we have. And that is part of training to be simple in our hearts. The majority of things what we need on earth in order to be a healthy element in our society, God is giving to us as well. So we don't need to be buying and reinforcing materialism on earth. But let's simplify our tendencies or habits. And in that way, we also are more centered, less stressed, healthier. And another unhealthy habit is to expect honors and privileges. Do I expect recognition in what I do, in family settings, in professional settings, in the society where we are? Or have we already started to develop a healthy habit in knowing that doing good and doing the right things and be correct in life, that is our duty anyway? We don't need to expect privileges for that. Again, if we develop self-love, that will be our inner modus operandi, how we will be function. But when we come from a, let's say, low self-esteem, inferior complex, from a place of lack of self-empowerment, we may still require honors and privileges from other people. Let's honor the position as a learner to develop the habit of simply doing good for ourselves and others. Now, another unhealthy habit is to not know, is to refuse to suffer. How many people suffer because they refuse to suffer on earth? That is an unhealthy habit, because we still are quite unhealthy. Therefore, we are in therapy through our reincarnation process, And of course, we have challenging moments that we go through. So when we refuse to suffer, that means that we are dealing with all defense mechanisms, the inacceptance of reality. And we can then choose to develop a healthy habit of learning through the sufferings to promote our own consciousness. In accepting the challenging experiences and always asking, what is the universe inviting me to learn through this suffering? Because God, the creator of everyone and everything in the universe, does not want us to suffer. He wants us to learn, to grow, to mature. That is the proposal behind it. And another unhealthy habit is to expect the best from life without working for it. That is what the babies do in life, isn't it? We always want to have everything in the best way, but we don't want to do any effort. But it doesn't work when we are in the adulthood. So an unhealthy habit to sit in the victim position, in the childish position, not willing to make efforts to work in terms of getting better in life, either professionally, as a person, that I become wiser, that I become more tolerant, that I become more fraternal, that I'm more engaged in the community, in the society, that I'm living in a healthier way. So I'm expecting that other people change and I'm not changing. But in reality, the rule in life is different. All of us can always develop the healthy habit in not expecting from life, but demanding from ourselves to be better today than we were yesterday and better tomorrow than we are today. And that is a free choice. As it is a free choice, it will not create any stress, any negative feeling. Well, on the contrary, it will develop inner centeredness, inner peace, and health, psychologically speaking. Now, another unhealthy habit is to not know how to put up with offenses or criticism. Again, is an unhealthy way because we react and we have expectations of other people's how they should be, what they should say, how they should look, and so on and so forth. It comes from our, I insist again, from our prideful mind, childish mind. And now we learn then to develop a healthy habit of self-acceptance, of self-respect, invest in promoting goodness within, in the way that we think, the way that we feel, the way that we act and behave in our daily existences, and also bringing down our false expectations. In that way, as we promote humbleness, as we promote the goodness as a free choice, we become less offended because we are expanding self-love from within and allow other people to be in the best that they can. When we say allow others to be as they are, that does not mean that we are agreeing with their unhealthy patterns or habits, but we say that we consider to develop our own healthy aspects, and that feels good. Another unhealthy habit is to not control yourself, exploding with little things. Let's analyze ourselves. Do I explode with little things, or do I notice that I have more inner tolerance? Or even if I notice that I bring this lack of self-control, I can choose in any moment to develop the healthy pattern of controlling myself, always bearing in mind that we have options, how we can choose to relate with ourselves in relation to our unhealthy habits in a different way. And another unhealthy habit is to avoid study, which would mean stay in the ignorance. And that is unhealthy because all of us, we still need to study a lot in the universe as we are immortal beings. Sometimes it's laziness. Sometimes it's, I jumped one here. I go back later on. Sometimes I avoid because it requires effort. It requires that I learn to discipline my mind, that I learn to focus, that I develop the inner choice to take responsibility for my evolution. But we all can always start and invest in that on daily basis, bit by bit. The other unhealthy habit is to discredit public services and institutions. Then we can think, do I have this habit unhealthy? Then in this hospital earth or in this school earth that I become aware of these unhealthy habits and now choose sincerely always to be cooperating towards the public services and institutions. And in case I cannot do it for different reasons, because surely we cannot embrace everything and be present in everything, but in whatever we embrace to be part of, let's be positive, constructive elements in boosting, elevating public services, public institutions, so that we really boost the values of a new humanity in a more fraternal, cooperative way and not discredit. We are not here to put people or communities down, but to help to promote them upwards. And another unhealthy habit is to postpone for tomorrow the duty that can be done today. The question would be, do I have the habit of procrastinating? Then now in the right moment to analyze myself and also to promote my emotional intelligence. Because the procrastination, we are hooked in our laziness, in our lack of responsibility, because we know we are hooked in this victimization or postponing what we as adults need to do. So what to do in order to heal that habit? Create a new one, which is learning to be responsible for us. And although I don't feel do my duties or to carry out my duties, I choose to do that anyway, because I do understand more my unhealthy habits as much as I also have understanding the healthy ones that I'm choosing to promote. Therefore, although I don't feel like doing, I go and do it anyway, because in that way we are deconditioning ourselves from the unhealthy habits and condition ourselves consciously in the new habits, the healthy ones. And on another unhealthy habit is to be dramatic regard to sickness and unhappiness that upset you. Children. It's like talking about our childness, the inner child. We don't want to get sick, but we don't want to promote healthy habits. Healthy habits will promote healing within ourselves. And sometimes in this stage where we find ourselves, we become sick. But the only question that we need to do, looking around within this sickness, is what is the universe inviting me to learn? Because sickness on the physical level is the extension of the sickness, of the illness on the psychological and emotional level, therefore on the spirit. And we as let's say the pilots of ourselves, we choose to re-educate ourselves. And another also unhealthy habit is to be unhappy about things, because things are not as we would like them to be. The bus is not at the time that I would like it to be. The train is late. There are strikes. It's raining, or it's too hot. Whatever the external references may be. Let's choose to develop a healthy habit of learning to be happy within. And how is that? Happiness is a consequence of maturing ourselves mentally and emotionally and addressing our experiences from a learning position and giving all the best in every moment. As we are on earth, as adult human beings, as we try to be in this invitation in developing ourselves, surely there are moments that we may feel sad. There are moments that experiences are not exactly as we are expected, but immediately we reflect and we re-edit our minds in the learning way. What is that I can learn here, which will impact us emotionally in a healthier way? We all can try. We all can do a bit more. And another unhealthy habit is to argue without logical reasoning. It's stupidity, isn't it? When we think about to argue without logical reasoning. That also requires attention to look or address our defense mechanism of, sometimes we say reasoning, but sometimes we may be reasoning from the complete ego state of mind, which is not logical. So again, it's important to observe where we are and always be willing to promote us. Oh, hello, Christina, be welcome. Michael, very welcome from São Paulo. Lourdes, be welcome as well. Christina Antunes is present, saying, developing healthy habits is our duty, as such life waits for this positive change of habits. Yes, when every one of us becomes more aware of our unhealthy habits and chooses to promote healthy habits, we actually are healing ourselves. And at the same time, as Christina said, we are, not that the intention is looking outside, but it will be impacted the external environment. We are cooperating in developing healthy habits in the family setting, in the community where we live, in the environment where we are, in our professional settings as well. And it also can influence others. Another unhealthy habit is to despise adversaries and place friends upon pedestals. Do we have that? We put friends in the first pedestal, as I say, and then put our adversaries on the bottom line. Now we need to understand that that unhealthy habit talks about our own criticism, our own shadows. Because in reality, we have people that we go along better because we already developed more connection emotionally through the existences, not only in this existence. And we also have other ones that we still are now facing in order to develop healthy habits. So then we learn to respect everyone, our friends, the ones that we don't have that much affinity, but always challenging ourselves that we don't get slaved by our own unhealthy habits. We are here to challenge them and develop the healthy ones. Now, another unhealthy habit is to demand from others things which we ourselves are not yet able to do. Let's observe on a daily basis. Perhaps I'm requiring from others and asking that others, or demanding from others, they should be loyal. For example, then I may ask myself, sincerely, I am loyal in all the situations, with every person. I am loyal with everything what I do, even when no one is seeing me. Or I may be demanding that people should be more educated. I am educated with everyone, everywhere where I am. If not, I am willing to invest in developing these habits, to ask for support without offering any cooperation. We are this needing, selfish soul, isn't it? We are always asking for support, but we don't want to cooperate. If we analyze these unhealthy habits as the Spirit Andrea Luiz is presenting to us today, we can see a lot of elements that perhaps we are always absent, but we are demanding from others. Let's choose now, again, without self-criticism, self-acceptance, self-love, and self-promotion. Let's choose to cooperate more, because as more as we choose to cooperate, our inner world naturally we are developing healthy habits in relation to ourselves internally. And then to condemn all those who do not think as we do. That is a challenging, isn't it? Family-wise, as we come back through the reincarnation with so different souls, with so different learnings that they bring and we bring, and even professionally, society-wise, let's always challenge ourselves, not the others, so that we learn to flexibilize ourselves, learn to develop maturity, learn to engage in a more broader perspective where we can incorporate the differences and the different, allowing other people to be in the best that they can and choosing to be better than ourselves. That is what the wise people in the world are telling us all. And another unhealthy habit is to accept tasks and then leave them without consideration on the shoulders of others. Do you have this habit that I say yes, I commit myself, and then later on I run away? I don't hold the compromise in order to deliver what needs to be delivered. So now, in case I have that limitation, I choose now to learn to be responsible. Accept tasks which naturally through our evolution we will embrace more and more, and also carry them out, carrying them out with respect, carrying them out with punctuality, carrying them out with discipline, carrying them out with consideration for ourselves and others, and always understanding what the Spirit Emmanuel says in the book Seara dos Médiuns, that we are here to cooperate more and more, to alleviate the shoulders of others, and not to put more weight on the shoulders of others through our inactiveness, through our irresponsibility. That in that way, we are already advancing. And understanding finally that love is the force of life, and work linked to love is the generator of happiness. Let's think about that. When we reflected here through these minutes, these moments, about unhealthy habits and how to develop healthy habits, we actually are approaching, or we are referring to approach of developing self-love, which requires work internally to change our belief systems, to control our old emotions, to develop new ways of thinking, to be willing to act in a new way. So love is the force of life, and no one can forever stay apart from it. We may, through our ignorance, still prefer the unhealthy habits, but then we are intensifying our inner illness or inner disturbances, reinforcing our inferior complex or lack of security. And then when we choose, now I'm tired, I don't want it anymore, love is my goal, that may be our choice, then we are constantly renewing ourselves and working on it. That is the reflections that we leave for today, understanding that all of us, myself, every one of you who are here and also later on may watch it, bear in mind that we bring the innate ability to actualize ourselves. That means to change our habits, our tendencies in any moment. So let's invest in that, because we deserve to be happier from within when we enlighten our own shadows, as Jung already taught us for many years back. And in that way, we are coming to the end today. I wish peace for everyone. And again, finalizing this moment of reflections, helping us in these final moments that we are together, giving thanks to the universe for our existences, for all the experiences that the universe presents to us. They are all positive, even though those that we say are negative, but they are coming as a stimulus to promote our inner wisdom, to promote our inner love. Let's believe in our actualization process. Let's believe that we can be happier, that we can love more, that we can cooperate in building a better world from within ourselves. As we choose to defocus on the unhealthy habit, always to look outside and project our own shadows, now we choose to look within and become aware of our limitations and enlighten and promote them, then all of us, we are working towards a better world, which starts from each one of us as brothers and sisters in humanity, as we all are part of one spiritual family. I wish you well, I wish you peace, and I wish you love from the bottom of my heart. And I hope to see you in another opportunity. Much peace to all. Take care. Bye-bye.